ladies. Welcome back to another episode of Wait, There's More Get the Skinny with Stu and Kim. We're just two friends that have been through it all from the highs and lows of weight loss to learning how to keep it off after gastric sleeve surgery. This podcast isn't about perfection, it's about real women, real struggles, and real strategies that actually work in everyday life. Before we dive in, we just want to say that we are not doctors, we're not dietitians, we're not medical professionals. The stories that we share with you come from our personal experiences, research, and what we worked on for us on our journeys. So always talk to with your healthcare provider before making changes to your diet, exercise, and medical plan. We're just here to inspire, support, and remind you that we're not alone in this journey. So grab your coffee or your favorite protein shake or whatever fuels you today, and let's get into it. Here's Kim.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Here we are again with a new topic. Wanted to go over blood work. When I reached out to Sue and we reconnected over our common bond here of gastric sleeve surgery, Sue had mentioned that she gets her blood work checked every 6 months. Now, right after surgery, I know they checked mine every 3 months and then at every 6 and then at 12. I just took that as golden and went about my day. And now that I'm 2.5 years out, I just recently had another panel after talking with Sue, because I thought, here we made this great decision to change our lives, but with that comes advocating for ourselves. I think when I go to the doctor, I just sit there and say, here I am. I trust you. And I'm kind of like a deer in headlights. And they just say, yeah, I'm running some blood work. You go down to the lab and put your arm out. Like, I never bothered to pay attention.
Yeah.
Now that I do have these symptoms, such as fatigue, I would say that's probably my biggest complaint.
Yeah.
And, I just made the assumption, I probably need B12, but actually that's true. So I just, put on my readers here. They're going to look funny on the screen because I got blue light. I did my beautiful Chat GPT research, and I'm guilty of that new trend, I say. And it came up with this wonderful little checklist with the core labs that they will run, just to kind of familiarize anybody who's not doing this right now. Highly recommend it. Again, Sue said this is just for general information purposes. Always consult your doctor, but this is what we found. So they're going to run a complete blood count, a CBC, and a comprehensive metabolic panel, CMP. They're going to check iron, vitamins, minerals, and sometimes A, E, and K. So what I found interesting, then it broke down a symptom-based testing, which I think this is now where we're getting a little more in touch with our bodies. We've talked to ourselves in the mirror and said, you look great today. You're doing a great job. And then we thought to ourselves, what am I feeling today? Okay, fatigue, weakness. That's your iron and your B12 and your folate. I think everybody has had hair loss for the lack of protein that we get right after surgery. And of course, they're going to check zinc, protein, and iron. Protein's key. If you've listened to the episode prior, or maybe two prior, was protein. Huge. You're never getting enough, I think. But then tingling in hands and feet, which I also suffer, but I'm also over 50 and have probably 3 different pinched nerves at any given time. So I just thought that's what that was. But they're going to check thiamine, B1, and which is B1, and then B12. So I wasn't putting, every time you say you need B, you think B12, but there is B6 and B1. and a B complex that is out there. So definitely talk to your medical professionals about that. And then bone and joint pain. I don't know if I've ever felt bone pain, but I do suspect that I don't get enough D and calcium. So I do take like a D3 with K2. And then vision changes. My vision decreases every year. It's always worse. I do sit in front of a computer most of the day, but they can up your vitamin A. No one's ever recommended that to me, and I don't know that they're actually testing it, but I'm taking this with me to my next visit. And Sue, you did some research too under a different, like you didn't search just after gastric sleeve.
Yeah, I did my search on women over 40 and the type of blood work we should be either inquiring about or we do get on a normal basis. And like you, I go to the doctor and they're like, oh, we're ordering you your yearly panel of blood work. And they'll call you back and either say, oh, everything checks out great, or hey, you're deficient in this and this. Maybe get yourself some extra vitamin to take care of it. And you're like, what the heck is going on? Like, you don't like, what's white blood cells? Like, why is my white blood cell count low? Like, what does that mean? Like, we don't even know. But half of the time when they call you and say, oh, everything's normal, you're like, hey, that's great. But in reality, like, what just happened? Like, what type of blood work did you do? Is like, what type of, are my thyroids working properly? Does that mean that, you don't know? But now, as you get older and you get wiser and you wish you knew all these things, you know, 5, 10 years ago, even 15, 20 years ago, now it makes sense. And now you're more curious because your mindset and your health are important to you now. Like you are actually, paying attention to how you feel.
Yeah.
So when they run that CBC, the complete blood count, it checks your overall health and it'll detect if you have enema, infections, or immune system function, make sure it's working properly. The benefits is it will identify fatigue causes and any immune deficiencies or nutrient imbalances. So that test is probably important. Obviously, it's the same test for women who had weight loss in some form and people who had weight loss surgery. The comprehensive metabolic panel, the CMP, it measures your blood sugar, electrolytes, kidney, and liver function. So it monitors how well your body processes the nutrients and filters waste. It's very crucial for metabolism and energy. And then obviously the cholesterol test, like we always get it, either you're great to go or you're low or high in, your bad cholesterol or your good cholesterol. And the doctor really never explains to you what good cholesterol is or what bad cholesterol is and what you should do if you're deficient or low in one of them. So you have to really like do your own research.
Yeah, I feel like at that point they'll probably. I'm not bashing the medical world at all. I
Right,
think I
right.
get very good treatment. I think they're seeing so many people and they have so much information to give out that at that point they might just say, "Well, I'll refer you to the nutritionist."
Yes.
So, because really, I mean, so you say this about my cholesterol. What do you suggest? Well, it's diet.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they're like, I'm tapping out. And another good point is insurance in general. They can only do work within their means of what they know is covered. You go in there asking for all these things, just keep in mind, and as much as I think that every 6 months is going to be my new goal, that may not be warranted. I may only be approved to have this blood work done every year.
Yeah.
So, and I actually asked, I had a 2-year follow-up with my sleeve surgeon, and they said, or I mentioned that I was looking for other avenues to just get a little healthier. and asked about the like functional wellness doctors that are more holistic, you pay out of pocket, but the PA actually gave me a card for someone locally. So I'm looking at that as well, because if your insurance doesn't approve it and you want to be a little more in touch, and can afford to, pay out of pocket, which I don't know what it's going to cost yet. I'm hoping to get a free consultation.
Yeah.
But kind of looking to that for a little more in-depth, because I think their approach with the functional wellness is the blood work, but more in-depth explanation of each of the things that we both mentioned.
Yeah. And cholesterol is a big one. And like you said, doctors can't really, they'll just refer you to a nutritionist, or you could be Dr. Google Sue and, Google what you could do. But, you hear the old saying, don't Google, any medical advice on the computer, because either it gets you upset or, there's like 50 things that could be wrong with you. So.
Well, I've been in 2 different doctor's offices that have a little cartoon on the wall about the WebMD parent or the WebMD patient.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that they're having fun with it, but it's true. And I think that's changed.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to let ChatGPT diagnose me.
No, exactly.
I don't even know if they do, but I've heard on the talk show circuit, I can overhear in the background, this being a very hot topic. So, yeah.
Yeah. So another test is obviously the thyroid panel, where they test the TSH, the T3, the T4. It checks your thyroid function, which regulates metabolism, mood, and weight gain. So the benefits is it will detect a sluggish thyroid. And common reason for fatigue and weight gain in women, especially women over 40. Another big one is your iron deficiency, which is your hemoglobin. And that's really important. I believe with the gastric sleeve surgery, we tend to be deficient in iron, vitamin D3, and I want to say B12. So those are like, when you feel fatigue, those are 3 like blood works that will find that. If especially like I've had low hemoglobin, I think I was at a 4, and you should be over 11.
Oh wow!
And I had to have a blood transfusion. And that was early on. That was probably, I want to say probably about 4 or 5 years after surgery.
Great. I have something.
When I get fatigued, I usually go straight to the iron, the extra iron. And then obviously vitamin D levels. They monitor the bone health, immune function, and your mood. It's low vitamin D can cause fatigue as well, bone weakness, and increased illness risk. Vitamin B12, and you talked about this earlier, it's important for your nerve health, brain function, and energy production. The benefit of having this test is it will spot out low levels of fatigue. Low levels of B12 can lead to fatigue, brain fog, and tingling, as you mentioned, in the hands and the feet. And then the hormone panel, I don't know if this was part of the gastric sleeve surgery, but when you get over 40, you want to have your hormones checked. It assesses the balance of key hormones affecting mood, weight, energy, and your balance. It detects perimenopause or menopause imbalances and supports personalized hormone health strategies. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and I was curious why it wasn't recommended in the general labs.
Yeah.
I will say it's confusing because going through both simultaneously, I believe I'm in perimenopause.
Yeah.
And no one's run a hormone panel on me that I know of, but I can't determine if my fatigue and my mood changes or hot flashes, whatever that may be. Is this just healing from the surgery and post-surgery symptoms, or is it hormonal perimenopausal symptoms? So I think most of our audience would agree that we're in a confusing time regardless. So it's depending on what you're trying to accomplish. I think that's worth asking for at least annually
Yeah.
after 40 or 50. So yeah, good
Yeah.
call on that one.
Yeah. And so the last one is a CRP, which is C-reactive protein. And why it's important, it measures inflammation levels in your body. It helps detect early risk of heart disease or chronic inflammation.
I think inflammation's a hot topic too. I know there's a lot of foods that cause inflammation to avoid, which we could address in another episode. And then turmeric, I know, is real big for inflammation. But yeah, very interesting.
Yeah. So it's suggested how often you should get your blood work done is every year, obviously, once a year. The annual blood work is a must, is the complete blood count, the comprehensive metabolic panel, the lipid panel, the cholesterol, obviously, and then your thyroid panel. And those core tests, those are the main tests. They help track your overall health, your metabolism, and early warning signs of issues like diabetes, thyroid imbalance, or heart disease. So those four, you should definitely request from, if you're not already getting them in the blood work panel your doctor prescribes to you during, when you get your blood work done. But those are the four core ones. And then maybe every 6 months, your vitamin D, your B12, your iron, and your iron. Because a lot of times those three were always, most women are deficient in one or all of them at some point. And it's good to learn what you're deficient in and then maybe apply supplements according to what your doctor recommends that you take other than a multivitamin. Like you might need to take a iron supplement, as opposed to just the multivitamin. Or, you might need to add a vitamin D supplement, besides what's in the multivitamin. But,
yeah,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say we had talked about self-care and joked about maybe trying to do a podcast from on location from like a IV place.
Yes.
But it got me thinking, because I have been to one before, and they don't know what we're deficient in. They're just going off of their checklist, asking the questions they need to ask, and kind of making the same assumption we're making. Oh, I probably need B12. I probably need D and calcium and all that. But I'm curious how how risky or not that it is to just walk in there and be like, hey, just give me an IV full of whatever you think, without having, without knowing what you're deficient in, without having that blood work ahead of time.
Yeah.
I might do a little more research on that.
Yeah, that's very interesting to know. And then of course, you're going to go get your annual blood work done, but there might be cases like that you have, specific symptoms where the doctor might prescribe, a panel of blood work here or there. So that usually happens, when you are feeling ill or you have flu-like symptoms or and you go to the doctor and you tell them your fatigue, and they're like, oh, let's run a blood. So you might get an individual test on, some blood work, um, for that too. But I think it's really important, and I know you do too, Kim, that at least once a year, get a full panel of blood work done on yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just important to go. I missed my mammogram last year. I don't know what happened, but when I booked it, they said it's been 2 years, and I couldn't believe that. So I think with our annual checks, it's easy to overlook that as well.
Yeah.
So, again, advocate for yourself and stay on top of things.
Yeah. Your blood work tells your story. It's your health dashboard, actually. And, you should get it checked, have it reviewed. If you have questions, talk to your doctor, review it with your doctor, let them explain what it's for and why you're doing it. And then track it just like you track your progress photos or weight loss, or your journals. Remember, ladies, knowledge is empowerment. So use your empowerment.
I agree. Well, thanks, Sue. And thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us today on Wait, There's More, Get the Skinny with Sue and Kim. We hope you got a little motivation, maybe a few laughs. And Sue, when you said enema, I think you meant anemia.
Probably.
So there's your laugh for the day, because I was like, I don't want an enema. But yeah, hopefully maybe you thought of a new strategy to help you along your journey and keep it off for good. And if you loved the episode, make sure to follow or subscribe so that you never miss the next one. And don't forget to join our community. We can be found on Facebook in the Keep It Off group, or on the page Wait, There's More, Get the Skinny with Sue and Kim, for updates, discussions, and more real life inspiration. You can also find both of us on Facebook. We love connecting with you and hearing from you. So that's it for today.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.